Happy to welcome in now NFL reporter for Fox Sports, Greg Auman, who has been busy putting together some free agent lists, top 10 free agents at respective positions. Still working his way through that position by position, probably about halfway done. But, Greg, we wanted to get you on, and I'll start here. We know that there are two starting offensive linemen on Buffalo's unrestricted free agent list. They not only made your top 10 list, they were both in the top 5. In terms of Connor McGovern and David Edwards, and I think Bills fans are already coming to the conclusion with their cap situation, even with the precipitous increase in the projected cap figure from last year to this year, there's a likelihood they're probably only keeping one of these guys in the fold. To think they'll be able to keep two, I think, is foolish to think. If you had to handicap it, who do you think is probably the easier of the two to re-sign? It would seem McGovern would cost less, because I think when people hear David Edwards could make up to $20 million a year on the free agent market, eyes are popping out of people's heads.
Yeah, both those guys, I felt like the strongest thing was just what good deals they had. It's hard to find value in second contracts, guys you didn't draft, but guys you were able to find and identify and enjoy as starters on the cheap, if you will. They're both going to cost a lot more on these new contracts. So, no, I agree with you. I kind of felt like McGovern was the easier one to keep. Yeah, these guards get expensive, man. Guards used to be the cheaper of the linemen, and now you're good guards, and there really aren't that many at the top of this class. I think, Edwards is probably right there. Talking about $18-20 million a year. So would be hard for them to keep both. I think you probably try and keep one and maybe draft into the other, or trust somebody young and deep on the depth chart.
And you get these guys, the Bills have their own needs now with the change in defensive philosophy from the 4-3 to the 3-4. We've been talking about it a lot. What are your thoughts on what it's going to take to get that kind of turnover on a roster? And we've been talking about how there are 10 teams, a big number of teams who changed head coaches, and about half of them are changing defensive philosophies. Do you find that flushes the trade market with teams wanting to trade guys who fit schemes better?
It could be. I mean, because obviously there are guys that, that are really good, affordable value 3-4 players that don't fit necessarily well. So rather than force a square peg in, it's kind of trading. If anything, some of these new 3-4 teams should be trading with some of these new 4-3 teams and just trade system fits. It's not always that easy contract wise. So, I mean, I think you try and figure out what you have that suits both fronts and still works well in a new scheme. And then obviously with the draft, with what you add in free agency, everybody you add has to be a good scheme fit, has to be with an eye on that. There's continuity on offense. You have, of all the coaching changes, they probably have the easiest transition with Brady getting promoted. But on defense, it's more complicated, and not everybody fits in what they'll be bringing there for 26.
And knowing that, Brandon Beane has been pretty good at finding value in the free agent market, because, he's one of those GMs that's paying a quarterback, life-changing money, upwards of $55 million a year. He has to be prudent in finding the value on the free agent market. And with the win now mentality of the owner, Terry Pagula, who wants to get over this playoff hump and get to the ultimate game, I think a proven receiver to add to this roster on the outside would be important. But again, that comes at a cost, particularly on the free agent market. And I don't know that necessarily there's a guy there. Maybe it's Mike Evans, who has been a proven player for a long time in Tampa Bay and maybe could be had for less than top of the market money because of his age. I don't know if there's a better option than that. Do you see a true outside guy in the free agent market that would fit that bill as proven player, but not completely destroying your salary cap structure?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be expensive. These top line guys don't come that often. Mike Evans is a guy who, again, he's got to decide first and foremost if he's going to return. Has played his whole career in Tampa. I think, honestly, I mean, we're talking about that top 100 list. We just did a list of kind of the top 25 likely salary cap cuts, and receivers probably the strongest position there. You'll see Brandon Ayuk. You'll see potentially Michael Pittman getting cut. A couple others that fall into that, where, again, these are guys we don't think of as free agents right now, but they're going to come available. They're going to be cheaper than the deals they were on. So I think that represents an opportunity there. I mean, Tyreek Hill's not that guy for Buffalo probably, but I mean, he's another guy who will be better than a lot of the
Yeah.
receivers in free agency just because Dolphins are going to cut him loose, not because he's a bad receiver necessarily, just because he's not worth $30 million a year. So I do think the number of receivers who are available will be better a month from now than it is right now.
What about what about edge guys in a 3-4? Are there going to be some guys who, and we've seen it, old guys who are at the end of it who maybe want to squeeze one more year out? I mean, the Bills got Shaq Thompson last year from Carolina and played extremely well, coming off an Achilles. Guys who are coming off major injuries who want to squeeze out, or maybe before the injury thought they had a couple of good years left, and now they want to see that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, if this is one of those where I'm like, I mean, Bosa, for instance, I had in that top 100, I think I had Bosa leaving and going elsewhere. I mean, Bosa's a guy who, again, has been much more expensive than he is right now. Um, I think did well in terms of forced fumbles, maybe not the sacks you expect to have, paying him what he's getting at a premium position. So no, I don't know who who the new edge rusher will be. I mean, they have to decide on AJ too. Is AJ back? What is AJ worth keeping? To bring him back on another deal. They've got some tough decisions on that front, just in terms of keeping what they have before you get into what you can add and where you can find value at a position where it's hard to find value.
Yeah, and then with the scheme change, or the anticipated scheme change under Jim Leonard on defense, nose tackle suddenly becomes an additional positional need for the Bills. I know you had the veteran DJ Reader on your list, 31 years old, but still pretty stout at the point of attack after playing in Detroit last year. I mean, they have Deion Walker, the young player who had a nice rookie season here, but he's also 6'7". And I mean, leverage is so critical there at the nose tackle spot. He might be too tall to play there. So I don't know how the full nose tackle market looks right now. And again, I bring up the trade market as a possible option if you have a player like Tavondre Sweat, for example, in Tennessee, where they're switching to a 4-3 under Robert Saleh. Could you do a player-for-player deal there? What do you make of the nose tackle market? Because, 330-pound guys that go 6'4" are not growing on trees.
Oh yeah, if you could get Sweat from Tennessee, I think that's great. I mean, he's one of those guys where, I mean, they had a lot of players available last year at the deadline, and he's one of the few that wasn't. So if a system change and if having a bigger front makes him more reachable, I would say to go after that in a big way. He's a huge guy. I think him and Simmons together are really good interior 1-2 punch there. So if you can get them, yeah, that's definitely a guy you'd want to trade for that would fit in well there. Reader, I think I had going back to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Not sure that's what's going to happen for him, but there's a couple. There's not a million top tier noses available in this free agency. I haven't really got to look at the draft yet to see what's there from there, but no, there's not many of them, and the scheme fits tend to stay where they fit well. So there's not many that come available in free agency.
What are your thoughts too? And I know you paid a lot of attention to the Super Bowl this last week, and the comments by Roger Goodell. He said, well, the 18-game schedule is not a for sure thing. It's not, the 18-game schedule is a for sure thing, right? I mean, that was posturing. You think?
Yeah, I was interested in that. I felt like he was very careful to say this is not a given. I think it's one of those where I think both sides are trying to set up their leverage for the next CBA negotiation. So I don't think either side wants that to be the end all be all. Like if the owners really want that, they're gonna have to give something to the players, whether it's a higher percentage, whether it's larger rosters, more guys dressing. There will have to be a concession to make up for. I mean, you're adding whatever it is, 6% to the season. Your repertoire of TV games increases. There's lots of things that bring more money to it. But again, even going 16 to 17, you saw a lot of players unhappy with the injuries that come with that, the toll that an extra week takes. I think they're smart to say, hey, by the way, still 20 weeks. We're just going to take one from the preseason and add to the regular season. But I think everyone knows that game you're taking away from the preseason isn't a game that starters weren't playing. It wasn't 100% snaps for the guys that were in there. So it's still adding something substantial. And I think both sides are just playing the leverage game right now. I think TV wants to, that package, the more they have to sell to now not only broadcast TV partners, but streaming partners that are cribbing in and taking Thursdays and taking, it seems like every parcel they can dole out to add the international games, everything they can sell and add to the revenues they get from TV. That's such a substantial part of the billions that the league makes. They're smart to want to maximize that, even if it means they have to have some concessions and give some things back to the players.
And then taking the international slate a step further, because it's 9 games this coming season, we've heard the commissioner say on more than one occasion that if this league is going to expand, down the line here, he has made no bones about his visions for expansion existing overseas. It almost sounds like, and I don't know what the timeline is on this. Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? But it's very clear to me that he, along with ownership, envision an overseas division at some point. Like, I think they're trying to line up what markets are best suited for a European division. And I think that's what their vision for expansion is for this league.
Yeah, I think it's still a ways off. I think they've seen how well these international games have gone, how the demand is globally for their product. I just think it's the logistics are the real challenge. I mean, you're going to have players. Again, right now, you go to the NFL, you're going to get drafted. You're going to know you play in the United States. It might be Seattle. It might be Buffalo. Might be Miami. You don't go into it thinking it might be London or Berlin or Melbourne. That's a whole different thing. It's kind of like baseball. You see it a little bit with having Toronto and having international and different taxes and all those kind of things. I think the logistics of scheduling, you hear about the NFL looking into advancements and maybe the Concorde coming back to shorten the time for transatlantic flight, these kind of things. I think they have to figure out ways to, if overseas travel is going to be part of the regular season for everybody, they have to find ways to do that and not have it impact the week before and the week after. Does it have to be a buy afterwards? There's lots of different things that go into it. Obviously, right now they can expand their brand globally and just do it piecemeal, a single game here. They're going to Melbourne, they're going to Mexico City, they're going to Rio, they're going to Madrid, Paris, all these places. They're just stopping in. And the idea of having a full tenant there and a full-time presence is another challenge. And whether you could have 2 teams there and then you could play those teams back to back so the travel between the two isn't as bad. There's lots of different things they have to look at. But I think right now the challenge is not only splitting the pie into smaller pieces, which you would do going from 32 to 36, but it's making sure you don't mess up what is a really good thing in terms of the simplicity and the ease with which the NFL puts together its schedule right now on that 32-8 division model that they have.
So you've got Paris, Madrid, Melbourne, Rio de Janeiro, Munich, and then 3 games in London. Where's next? Is it Tokyo?
Right?
Is it Peking? Is it, I'm serious. Is it going to be Tokyo? Is it going to be Peking? Is it going to be Shanghai? Or is it going to be Africa? Is it going to be somewhere? I mean, where is it going to be? Give me a guess.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Africa. I mean, I think if Melbourne works out, and that's not a logistical nightmare given the travel and the number of hours and difference
there. If they can do it in Melbourne, they can do it anywhere.
They can do Melbourne. That opens up, again, Hong Kong. That opens up Beijing. That opens up all kinds of things in huge markets they want to get into. But again, right now, I think the simplicity of mainland Europe, and you think about what you have just in, London, and I guess we've seen Ireland with Dublin. You have options in, Germany's already done well both in Munich and in Berlin, so that's there. I think that whole area is wide open to what they want to add to. But I think what you want to make sure you do is you set it up where the stadium is right, where the infrastructure is there to make it like a regular season game. I think Mexico City had a little stumble where the pitch wasn't really what they wanted it to be. So I think they're careful in that you want to go somewhere and make sure you can still, in a pinch, put things together where it seems like a real NFL game with all the normal specs for a game. You just have a different crowd around it. And that has to be the starting point. I don't know what cities that eliminates or what cities that puts at the forefront, but it'll be fun. If he's talking about 16 games and having every team playing a game overseas every year or internationally every year, that opens up a lot. And you could have 10 cities with 16 games. There's lots of things you could do.
Greg, before we let you go, should we anticipate that you're going to continue plowing through these positions with top 10 free agents? What do we got on the horizon here on FoxSports.com?
Yeah, honestly, it's like I mean, Combine comes up, less than 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
So taking that initial top 100 and turning that into these top 10 by position. Like I said, we'll have, I think Monday we'll have the top 25 likely salary cap cuts, guys that'll get cut just as teams are trying to get under the cap. That opens up more free agents. Lots of Combine work, getting ready for that. Be out there for 3 days in Indy. And kind of going from there. But before you know it, you're writing about the draft and nothing but the draft after free agency.
We know it all too well. Greg, thanks for the time. We appreciate it as always, and we'll catch up with you down the line here in the offseason.
All right. Looking forward to seeing that new stadium. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.
That's NFL reporter for Fox Sports, Greg Auman.